I replaced the power board, got that all taken care of, put it back together. Did one test flight at night, flew very well. Did a second test flight, and then one of the wires actually came off one of the motors, crashed as it was back left one, so luckily I had some spares, was able to replace it. If you want to know how to do that, you can look on the video on the channel that shows how. So I ran it for about 5 minutes to break it in, because this is brush motors on this, so you do need to break them in. Everything appeared to be working fine, so we're going to take it for first flight since the motor repair. Now I do have it in the medium or intermediate speed mode. Doesn't appear to be pulling, so now we're in low mode, intermediate, so we should be good to fly. I do not have any landing gear on this quadcopter, so we'll have to bring it in nice and slow when we do come into land. And hopefully I can get a couple good flights out of it so I can strap my run cam to it. One of the main reasons I bought the run cam was a chance to be able to put it on the tarantula. So handling good. Get it out of the sun here. It's a little hard to see. But I have on the back here, I did the battery bay mod where you bust out the venting and then you just run your battery through the plug-ins through the back, so then that way very easy to take out. You can actually charge it with the battery in there. Getting a little weird feedback on one of the motors. It keeps locking up when I try to turn. Wind is blowing today though, so might need to crank up the speed a little bit. So I got it in high, so we'll have a more of an aggressive pitch, so that should help us out whenever we're trying to turn into the wind here. But appears to be handling good, so you can see how aggressive that pitch is when it's go to turn downwards, come back towards you. So it's flying good. So like I said, it's a little bit stiff, feels like, and the gears might need to be oiled up, or the motors, where the bearings are on the motor, on the plastic gears, those might need to be lubed up too as well, because here in the sandy, deserty conditions, it was pretty dry and it was squeaking. But for the most part, it seems to be handling fine. The tarantula is very manual as far as the inputs go. It does actually hover though, so if you do leave it in one spot, it will hover. So that's why I'm hoping to get some of these test flights out of the way so I can strap that camera onto it. And since this thing is very powerful for the class that it's in, you know, it should be able to get some high-speed footage with the camera on there. Not sure what it's gonna look like. It's a different story, but you know, you can see how well this thing will turn on a dime, especially in the high-speed mode. But I was flying it similar to this whenever the motor actually wire came undone, and I don't know if it was from the motor guard that I had on there was a little bit loose and rubbing up against one of the wires, or it was just an old solder on that wire. You have to do some rewiring on it. Actually had to reverse 2 of the wires, so you can either reverse the motor wires or you can reverse the wires going into the board for the motor wires. I just used the board. It was a little bit easier. The solder on those motors, it's pretty solid on there, but it's such a finicky connection that you don't really want to mess with it a whole lot. So I'm just checking out the motors, make sure they're spinning correctly whenever I move left, right, forward, backwards, because those motors will decrease and increase in their speed from the speed controllers. So, but handling good. So we're going on a couple minutes of flight time here. That's low. It's intermediate mode for the speed. Take a look at our lights, make sure we're not running out of battery. So it's been a couple days since I've been able to fly. It has been raining here in California, so the tarantula is always a fun one to fly. You know, if you do not have this one in your collection, well worth the purchase. It can pick up a GoPro, so that's what you do have. It's not advised. I put more miles on this thing trying to pick the GoPro up. It did work, but I was burning through motors and gears. That's why luckily I had a spare one on hand, because you can pick a 4-pack of motors up. Very easy to connect. It has like a 2-pronged JST plug. You just plug those in and you're flying again. So on some of the older tarantulas, I don't think they had the motor replacements for it at that time, so you actually had to do some soldering. But this one, the new ones that are out, as long as you do have those connectors, you can just connect them in and break in the motor with the low speed for about 5 to 8 minutes, and you should be good to go. So I feel pretty confident that we can go ahead and put the run cam on it, possibly on the next flight. There is one motor still in question with the solder that it currently has on it, so just need to make sure that everything is good. We're not going to break free. That's some weird drift right there. Just when I think it's flying fine, it gives me some weird feedback. So it was it's drifting backwards. So I think I do have all the trim zeroed out. I had to trim it up a little bit because once the flight time. Now the tarantula does have the ability to be able to do flips. I'm not doing any of those at the moment because just trying to break in the motors on this. But you can hit the right button on the transmitter, which will cause it to flip, and then you just hold left, right, up, down on the right stick, and that will allow this quadcopter to flip. So this is a pretty big size quadcopter to be doing flips. You know, once you get into those GPS ones, it's not going to flip, but for the bigger ones. So it'll be interesting to see how the run cam records, if this can flip with the run cam on it, and how fast we can fly it. Trying to get some high speed flights out of it. So check the lights. It looks like they are blinking, which means it is time to bring it in for a landing. So I don't have any landing gear on it, so we'll just land it in the hand. But this is the Tarantula X6 JJRC H16. Well worth the buy. You know, fun one to have in your collection. At 8 ounces, with the landing gear off, it might be under the FAA requirements, but just to be safe, you're probably going to have to put your pilot ID or your ID number on there. But these lights on the bottom, when they are flashing like that, that means that your battery's going to die. And with this battery bay mod here, I can just unplug these two from each other without having to open up the battery bay, because I'm running them out through that back venting in the back there. So this is the JJRC H16. If you have any questions, comments, leave them in the box below, and I'll try to get back to them as soon as I can.